Let's check her out. 3, 2, 1. We got a box in a box. There we go. Here's the main box. All right, so this is the Apex 300, and this is BLUETTI's newest unit, and I believe what's going to be the flagship unit for them. Now, if you followed us at all, we have the AC300 and B300 combos, which this is similar to, but there's one huge difference. Oh, looks smaller too. That is awesome. Got your accessories box. We'll check these out later. I just want to see it. All right, I see her. So what the main difference between the AC300, B300 combos or the AC500 that BLUETTI has already had on the market, this Apex 300 has a battery built into it. That was surprisingly not that heavy. Now, we've been running the original AC300 and B300 combos for quite some time now, and what I'm most excited about this, like I said with the built-in battery, there's also some other features that I think addressed everything that I didn't like about the AC300, and they fixed it all in this Apex 300. So I just ran into the cabin and pulled out our BLUETTI AC300 real quick just to show an actual comparison of the size and some of the differences of these two units. Now, as you see here, the new Apex 300 does run a little bit smaller than the old AC300, and I'm really excited about that because I originally felt that although this is a very, very reliable unit, it was a little big for what it did. And the most exciting difference of these two units, especially when comparing the size, is although the Apex 300 does come in a little bit smaller, it does one major thing the AC300 doesn't, and that's have a battery built right into it. So the original AC300 here did not have a battery built into it. You actually needed to connect separate external batteries in order to make this operate. The Apex 300 comes with a built-in 2,764 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery. And this can be expanded with up to 6 B300K expansion batteries. That would give the entire unit this battery capacity, along with those 6, around 19,300 watt-hours of total battery capacity. And that actually leads me to a next exciting thing about this Apex 300 is this can be tied in parallel with 2 other Apex 300s. And this would allow you to expand with up to 18 B300K batteries, giving you a total battery capacity of 58,000 watt hours. That is massive. And it's also far beyond our battery capacity here on our off-grid property. And when it comes to powering everything you got going on, the Apex 300 has an upgraded inverter over the AC300 as well, with a total output of up to 3,840 watts. And the inverter is also rated for 7,680 watts of surge. So that simply protects you if you're running something that has a hard start like an air conditioner. It allows for that real quick startup wattage to be supported by this inverter. Now, in addition to the 4 20 amp outlets on the front of the device, you have a couple other outlets, including this 30 amp outlet on the side. Now, this is something I'm really excited for. If you happen to see my original AC300 review, one of the things that I called out was that although it did allow for a 30 amp hookup, its 3,000 watt inverter didn't fully support 30 amps. But with this upgraded, more powerful inverter, it can put out a total of 32 amps, more than what's necessary to fully have a 30 amp hookup. So if you have a 30 amp hookup RV, plug it right into this. Never think about power because it can support all 30 amps and it has a surge protection for when your air conditioning kicks on. It's also got a 50 amp hookup on the side here, which allows for both 120 volt output and 240 volt output. The inverter is only rated for up to 32 amps at 120 volts, so you need to be careful if you're going to use that for a 50 amp hookup and you're going to try to draw that much power. So this does make me curious, because BLUETTI had the AC300 and the AC500 before, are they gonna come out with something like an Apex 500 that's fully gonna support that 50 amp hookup? I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just kind of saying 1 + 1 = 2. Just to jump back at something I called out before, the new Apex 300 does support 240 volt output, which is pretty cool. Now to the only major downfall that I noticed in this first unboxing of the Apex 300, and that's the DC outputs. The old AC 300, you had DC outputs on the unit itself, but with the Apex 300, you need the separate unit connected into the battery terminal to allow you to plug in USB ports or any other DC output. Ultimately, for a larger power station like this, I don't think DC output, at least in my experience, is used very often, so it's not a huge deal. Smaller, more portable unit, I do see myself using them pretty often, but it is something definitely to call out. And to continue the unboxing of the accessories that come with the Apex 300, first, you have your owner's manual. You can refer to anything here, but you can also go online to look that up. The app's also a great place to check out some features that it has. And then you have what looks like a DC charger. So if you plug this into a DC outlet or a cigarette outlet, you can charge the device from there. And you have an AC charger, which allows you to plug this into just a normal 20 amp hookup. But that means I don't see anything that out of the box allows you to connect to solar. And looking over here, this is where the DC input, so like this guy here, or the PV or solar input would go. And you have two connectors, so just like the AC 300, it does allow two separate arrays to be hooked in separately, which I love. So that means it has like two separate solar chargers. But I will say, I think every BLUETTI unit I have received in the past does come out of the box with the cables you need to hook it into the solar panel. So that's a little bit of a disappointment that they don't include that in this one. So that covers a lot of the key new features that stuck out as I unboxed and viewed some of the spec sheets of the new Apex 300. There is one more really exciting one that I would like to call out. And that is system switch recovery, which can be turned on within the BLUETTI app. Is if the Apex 300 fully runs out of power and dies, but is plugged into some sort of alternate source like solar that eventually starts charging it up, when it has enough power to turn back on, it's gonna default back to having whatever outputs were previously on to being on. And this is a really important feature if you're living off-grid. So ultimately, my plan is to start testing this out and using it over the next month and then post a follow-up video. But what are my initial thoughts? Now, with the exception of the DC outputs being a separate unit that I believe you'll have to purchase separately, and the unit not coming with any cables that allows you to just straight out of the box charge with solar, the Apex 300 is an absolute game changer, in my opinion, over the AC 300. Its smaller stature and built-in battery puts it into its own class in comparison. The optional 240 volt output is going to be a game changer for some people. I'm probably not going to find myself using it here. That 840 watt extra oomph coming out of this inverter is awesome. It's truly going to put out 30 amps and then some of power. So again, over the next month, we're going to be testing this out here on our off-grid Tennessee property. So make sure you subscribe below so that you can come check in a month to see our true thoughts after using this off-grid for an entire month. Thanks for watching. Time to put this baby to work.